And greetings, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show, live and on demand here on BlazeTV, radio and podcast. Steve Deace here with Aaron McIntyre, Todd Erzin, and of course, there's all of you. Let us know what you think about what we think via the stevedeace.com inbox. You can do that by emailing the show, steve@stevedeace.com. That's DEACE. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, @Steve Deace Show. And again, reminder, I'm lying to you on Facebook whenever you see hashtag Facebook approved takes, know that I am lying, right? Because that's what Facebook wants. They want lies in their platform. So I aim and guess in my own special way to give it to them. You can also find out what I really think on social media platforms like Parler, MeWe, Gab, and Getter. You can also find clips of the show that are free of censorship and free to watch at rumble.com/Steve Deace Show. Our friend and colleague Daniel Horowitz sent me a video the other day that I sat down to watch. Finally had the time. And I will tell you, I'm enraged. I'm listening to a man's story. He's doing a podcast with a rabbi. And he's telling the story of how he could not get the hospital to treat his wife with anything other than a ventilator for COVID. And she was dying. And this went on for several days. He went to the head administrator of the hospital. No one would treat his wife. And finally, he got an immediate injunction for the hospital to administer an ivermectin cocktail after 5 days of this. And she's hanging by a thread. Within a few days, she feels instantly better. Not out of the woods yet, but she's alert, up and about. And then on appeal, he lost, and they took the treatment away and wouldn't do it. And the doctor that wrote the script in the hospital warned him before the appeal hearing, we're running out of allies here. They're coming after me, basically. They're threatening my license if I don't testify the way that they want. So he wouldn't back him up on the appeal, and the judge ruled in favor of the hospital, and he's now buried his wife. That should be a capital punishment crime. That's cold-blooded first-degree murder. The people who executed that, every last one of them, should be executed. That is cold-blooded murder. Capital murder. If we are not indeed living in the end times, then we will, at some time, see that what was done here with early treatment denial for COVID, particularly where the ivermectin cocktail comes into play, will be considered one of the most barbaric periods in all of American medical history, world medical history, really. In 1928, Alexander Fleming came up with the idea that within molds, we could find the ability to push back on bacterial infections. If they had Twitter back then, hashtag mold paste would have absolutely been trending in mockery and scorn of Alexander Fleming. Less than a century later, he is considered perhaps the greatest medical trailblazing pioneer since Hippocrates came up with the oath. If we are not living in the end times, the time will come that this will be considered, what was done here with denying of early treatment, particularly the ivermectin cocktail, but there's others, will be considered among the most barbaric acts in all of the history of medicine. Unfortunately, a lot more people are going to have to die before that happens. A lack of courage plus mass compliance equals more tyranny. We have the tyranny we are willing to tolerate. We have the tyranny we are willing to comply with. If your child is masked today at a school in a face diaper, it is not the school board's fault. It is not a judge's fault. It's yours. And other parents like you. It's your fault. You have complied. You did it. Own it. I don't have time to pet you. I don't have time to coddle you. Forgive my abrasiveness. No, don't. Because I listened for 45 minutes this morning to a grieving husband who buried his wife because he was surrounded by cowards. Do not be upset that the LA County Health Department declared the Emmys a maskless, COVID-less, safe environment. Don't be mad. Spirit of the age is as spirit of the age does. Be mad instead at all the people that got mad about it that live in LA County but still slapped a face diaper on their kindergarten to go to school the next day. Be mad at them. It's their fault. It's their fault. There is something about us as a species. You want a virus? Here's one. Whatever infected Adam that made him stand there that day passively in the garden with a shrug and a what me worry as evil entered into the world. And ever since, particularly among the men, we have this need to just count the cost of a righteous action rather than the cost of not doing so. And we wait and we wait and we wait. You know, World War II could have been completely averted. Hitler had sent his one outfitted regiment into the Rhineland to test the Treaty of Versailles. And the far more equipped and better trained French soldiers who were presiding over it basically cut and ran, giving Adolf Hitler, the new premier of Germany, the political clout that he needed to show his people that he would restore their nationalistic pride. When he could have just been pimp slapped right there, and we all would have been done with it. But nope. And we do this every time as a species. We will wait, we will wait, we will wait. It's too expensive. It's too costly to take a stand. It's too costly. Until the time comes that we have no choice, and that's when the cost is the absolute highest. So I opened this morning with glad tidings of great joy for everyone within the sound of my voice. If you are unsure with whether you have the courage to stand up to this, with whether you have the voice to say no to this, be of good cheer, because you're all going to find out. Coming up on the show today, looking forward to this next hour. It's been too many months. Dr. Ryan Cole will join us to give us his view on what's going on with the virus, the vaccines, policy, etc. I don't know of anybody that has examined more samples of coronavirus than Dr. Ryan Cole has. So we will talk to him coming up next hour. Also, for fake news or not, I've got some vaccine data that I would like to see if Todd and Aaron can make any sense out of whatsoever, because it does, to me, it makes absolutely no sense at all. Like none. It doesn't make any sense. We'll share that with you and try to see what is fake news or not when we discuss that here at the bottom of the hour. But before we get to all of that, here is Aaron's rundown of what happened while we were away.
What happened while we were away, brought to you by Good News. We'll start with this. 33 years ago, Ohio woman Melanie Presley found herself with an unexpected pregnancy at the age of 18. She decided to choose life and gave her baby up for adoption, a boy likely never to see him again. For 33 years, this photo, taken the day after the child was born, was the only thing she had left of her child until now. With the help of a DNA test, Presley found her long-lost adopted son, Greg Vossler of Winchester, Virginia. The mother and son met each other for the first time this past June. Then there are these two Indiana boys who were riding their bikes recently when they saw a military funeral procession winding through their town. Instead of continuing to ride their bikes, the boys stopped, stood at attention, arms behind their backs, and paid their respects to the fallen veteran. A 13-year-old boy in Wisconsin is being hailed as a hero after reportedly saving not one, not two, not three, but four of his little sisters from a large house fire that could have easily turned deadly. Briar Omar's parents had only just left their home to get dinner for the family one recent Monday evening when one of his sisters noticed the playpen was on fire. Briar tells WCCO-TV,
"My sisters, that was the first thing I thought of. And I just knew I needed to get him out of the house."
The family had talked about what to do in an emergency. He got his sisters to safety and thought he could save the house too, using a fire extinguisher.
And it went up in bigger flames, and I just couldn't breathe, I couldn't see, and then I almost collapsed, and then that's when I felt my dog rub against me, and I grabbed her, and she led me out the doors.
Mandy, the dog, and Briar got out in time for their parents to pull up to the home.
On the West Coast, patients at the Coastal Fertility Medical Center in Irvine, California have been receiving some good news in a very unique way.
Hello?
Dr. Lawrence Werlin and his team have made IVF lab test calls a group effort by notifying new moms and dads with those boisterous announcements.
You're pregnant! Hang on now. Congratulations, guys.
Teachers at Unity Grove Elementary in Georgia took note recently of the school's custodial worker, Chris Jackson, who'd fallen on hard times and had taken to walking an hour both ways to his job at the school. So the teachers decided to help.
Teachers at Unity Grove Elementary School helped raise money to buy Chris Jackson a car, and they surprised him at work. His reaction was priceless.
The school got together and we raised the rest of the money, and it's yours.
It is a God. Oh, my stars. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I thank you all.
Jackson told Fox News,
I thought, I would say when they was like, they needed help. That's all I could think was, okay, all right, these women need help. It's something heavy, so that's all I could think of. But once we got outside and all of it unfolded, that's when I was really looking like, oh, so I was looking at my car the whole time. I was like, oh, that was nice, though. It was a blessing.
a group of Marines in their dress blues were riding together on a bus when they noticed a stranded motorist on the Columbia Pike in Virginia during some recent flooding there.
We just got stuck.
As you can see, the Marines in their aforementioned dress blues got off the bus and pushed the driver to safety. And finally, a word about the human ear. The ear is made up of three parts: the external, middle, and inner divisions. The external ear, those weird folds of skin and cartilage on every person's head, actually have those weird shapes in order to not only protect the middle ear, but to enhance our hearing by as much as 10 decibels in the 2000 hertz range, which happens to be the frequency needed the most for understanding human speech. The middle ear features the smallest bones and the two smallest muscles in the human body. Those two small muscles, when confronted with a loud noise, contract and hold the ossicular chain in more rigid positions. This serves to buffer the intensity of sound wave transmission to the cochlea. If we didn't have this, every louder sound would become deafening. And finally, there's the internal ear, composed of the cochlea and the vestibular system. Those two systems work in tandem to do something miraculous. They convert sound wave energy into mechanical energy, which is then converted into hydraulic energy in the cochlea. And finally, that hydraulic energy is converted into electrical or neural energy that is then transported to the brain, and they're doing all of these conversions in milliseconds every single waking moment of our lives from what we perceive as sound. The sound of a baby crying, a loved one laughing, or this mother in an assisted living facility dealing with Alzheimer's and her son singing a song as they've long done since he was a small boy. Just this time, they did it on camera.
I am a poor wayfaring pilgrim while traveling through this world below. There is no sickness, cold, or danger in that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my Father. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm just going over Jordan. I am just going over home. I know dark clouds, they'll gather over me. I know my pathway's rough and steep, but golden fields lie out before me, where weary eyes no more shall weep. I'm just going over Jordan. I am just going over home.
And those are some good things that happened while we were away.
Aaron's montage brought to you by our friends over at Sweat Block. You never know, just because fall begins tomorrow, cooler weather has arrived here, thankfully, in the Midwest. You never know, though, when those sweat glands could kick into overdrive. It could be nerves, anxiety about public speaking, a first date, a job interview. Could just be you're a really good sweater, but now's not the good time for that to happen. That's why you want to check out Sweat Block. It is stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You simply apply it at night, right before bedtime, right before you go to bed. Get up the next morning and take a shower, do everything you normally do. You should be good for several days. Sometimes people just use one or two of these even during the course of a week. And then they have other products out there that I've tried as well, like the deodorant, which is fantastic. That definitely, even when it is hot outside, stands up against the summertime heat. There is deodorant lotions for those more sensitive nether regions, etc. So no more pitting out, no more picking out shirts based on what will hide your sweat more effectively. Get the confidence and self-assuredness from Sweat Block and get 20% off today with the promo code DEACE, D-E-A-C-E, when you go to sweatblock.com. Promo code DEACE when you go to sweatblock.com. All right, so Aaron, I got to ask, what prompted you to put that together here today?
I'm really, really sick of just... I did that, just so you know. I didn't do that for all of you. I did that for me. No, I just felt like we needed a little bit of a pick-me-up, a little bit of an escape, a reminder that the Imago Dei still is within all of us. I have no idea what all of those people in that montage, featured in that montage, think about the virus, nor do I care. I mean, the Marines, they didn't care right then at that moment when they got out in the floodwaters and pushed that lady. I have no idea what the old woman with Alzheimer's and her son, I have no idea, don't really care, because that was all the good, the true, and the beautiful. And sometimes we got to be reminded of that.
Thank you for that reminder. Watching that video this morning, watching the latest Project Veritas video last night from the woman working for the Department of Health and Human Services, the nurse, and the video she has taken of one of the lead clinicians admitting much of the scam and everything that is going on when she doesn't know she's being taped. I saw this video last night. I started watching it. We had our monthly poker night with me and a bunch of my old friends. And I was out early in one of the hands and began watching this. And I really struggled to focus the rest of the night. I made a bunch of mistakes I don't typically make. I just enraged watching this video. And enraged all the more watching the video that Daniel sent me from the husband who just buried his wife. And I know it may seem like my rage was an odd segue to your light shine there, but I think they actually work together. Because that, what I think you just shared there, Aaron, are examples of why we push back against this, why we stand up against this. It's because we do not want to see the darkness overcome the light. And right now, whether they understand it or know it willfully or not is irrelevant. Too many of the people making too many of the decisions in this world are ambassadors of the darkness. Flat out. Flat out. And what I also liked about your montage is it compassion that overcomes the darkness, or is it courage? And the answer is yes. Todd, do you have any thoughts?
Well, this is what we talk about. That montage was hope. And again, from the beginning of COVID until now, and it's only getting worse, you're not allowed to hope according to the rules of those Steve just told you are in charge. Of course, yes, they are doing the work of darkness. And increasingly, it's clear it's not by accident. It's not the road to hell is even paved with good intentions. Again, as Steve wrote in a column recently, the lie is the point. The lie to them is victory over order, over the good, the true, and the beautiful. They want the chaos, just like the devil wanted in the garden. Did God really say, this is it? I can't stress that enough. And it's from, they keep parroting it back at us, the experts know, the experts know. If that's not sending a chill down your spine at this point, because the experts, again, and we told you about the release of Fauci and Booster. Steve's going to tell you about the failure of experts to the point of genocide and what was crafted to lead us out of that darkness and ensure it never happened again. But whoops, while people are still breathing from that era, they are choosing the exact same darkness. There is nothing new under the sun. Choose now whom ye will serve.
And just to add to that, I did that, partially because I thought we all needed a little bit of a pick-me-up, but also to draw the conclusion of what you just said is that, you know, I don't pretend to know what was going on in the minds of the many, many tens of thousands of soldiers in World War II on foreign soil, having their lives threatened every single day, or any clearly defined war against good, evil, good guys, bad guys. I have to imagine, though what kept some of those individuals going was the thought of returning home, finishing the mission so that they could return home. What keeps you going in a war is not the thought of the war itself, or at least that can only take you so far. Cursing the darkness will only take you so far. You have to be kept driven by the good things, by hope, what Todd just said. If you want a fictional example, Frodo and Sam, always talking about the Shire, even in the midst of the shadow of Mount Doom, driven along by that memory of going back home. We have to have those memories, and we have to have some of the good and some of the things to hope about to keep us going. Otherwise, it just, we all get to that dark place, and it's, you start staring at the darkness, and the darkness starts staring back. We can't let ourselves do that.
Very, very, very well said. So on a somewhat less metaphysical level from what we have currently described, but also something that I do think on a very small level will help brighten your day. In what promises to be the most awkward segue I've ever made to a live read. But chocolate chip cookie dough Built Bars are back. Take advantage now while supplies last. The absolute greatest flavor of the greatest flavored protein bar of all time. This is their magnum opus. All right, take full advantage of it right now. If you want to, get a couple boxes, get a box of the chocolate chip cookie dough and then get a box of their variety everyday stuff with mint brownie, peanut butter brownie, cookies and cream, etc. You can do that too. But definitely take advantage of the chocolate chip cookie dough. It's out now. But while supplies last, because this is a very, very popular flavor. I know. I've got 4 boxes of it sitting in my garage fridge as we speak. All right, so promo code is DEACE, D-E-A-C-E, to get 15% off your order at Built.com for Built Bar. Built.com, B-U-I-L-T is where to go. Take advantage of the return of chocolate chip cookie dough. Built.com, greatest protein bar of all time. And get 15% off with the promo code DEACE at Built.com. The conversation we're going to have the rest of this show is I'm going to attempt as best as I can, not being an expert, being a layman who has largely had to be educated on some functional level in real time in just the last 18, 19 months on this stuff, and never really thought or had the need nor luxury nor time to think that in depth about it prior to March of 2020. But I'm going to try to be as brutally honest as I can without being reckless, because I also don't want to, we're dealing with our individual health here. I don't want to have my reach exceed my grasp. I don't want to outkick my coverage here. But given some of the data we're going to be showing you here in a few minutes after this next break, some real questions need to be asked. Because I feel, looking at some of this vaccine data around the world, the way I felt after I read the Imperial College model for the second time. Meaning, I may not understand immunology, biology, virology at the level of those who put this model together. But I understand logic, reason, argumentation, and philosophy at a very high level. Those are my expert subjects. And I think over the years I've proven to be fairly functional with those topics. Is that fair?
Sure.
Even in some rather hostile environments?
For sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I can spot a fallacy when I see one. And boy, howdy, I spot several fallacies here. So we're going to look at this data before we bring Dr. Ryan Cole on next hour. I'm going to try to ask him, now that I have more detailed data, I think I've got more poignant questions to ask him to try to get as many answers from him in the half an hour almost that we have him as I possibly can. And then we're going to spend the back end of the show just kind of decompressing from that conversation and what it is or isn't that Dr. Cole says next hour. All right? Put your thinking caps on. You're going to need them the rest of the way. Stay tuned.